Join us for an intergenerational burning of the Grudges Service. We will learn about the Italian Epiphany tradition of La Befana, and together we will burn away all the things that pile up and hide the light inside each of us. La Befana and the Burning of the Grudges. Reverend Molly Housh Gordon.
So our next song this morning is the 12 Days of Christmas. For how many of you is Christmas over and out of the house? Okay, how about just over but not out of the house? More. So for most people in our culture, Christmas is over. For most of us, the celebrations of Christmas begin Christmas Eve and end when Christmas Day is done. Indeed, in our American culture, the weeks leading up to Christmas are what we most generally call the Christmas season, with shopping and merriment and celebrations. But as a religious observance in the Christian tradition, Christmas actually only begins on Christmas Eve. And what is called the Christmas season, liturgically or religiously, extends 12 days, as very observant Christians of different varieties reflect on the story that does continue after the birth of Jesus, the Christmas narrative that continues until the arrival of the Magi or the wise men on the 12th day of the Christmas season, known as Epiphany. In this tradition, the Epiphany was the event which signaled that the ministry of Jesus would be to all people and not just to his fellow Jews. There are many different cultural traditions about Epiphany among Christians around all different parts of the world. And today, on what is the 10th day of Christmas, we will be learning about the Italian tradition of La Befana, an old woman at the edges of the story of the wise men.
Today, I get to share with you one of my favorite Christmas stories. And I want to ask you all, when you think of witches, what holiday do you think of? Halloween. So did you know that there's a Christmas witch? She's not quite the same as a Halloween witch. Her name is La Befana. She's just a cranky yet kind-hearted old lady who's also a little magical. I found this story about 10 years ago, and it's a story from Italian folktale. And what I love about it is, even though I'm not Christian, it speaks to what I love about the Christmas story. So we have the Why Are You players who will be performing it for us today, and Maria, who grew up with this story as part of her Italian heritage, will be playing the role of La Befana. So enjoy.
La Befana was kept awake by the light of that star shining in her eyes, but by the end of the story, she realized that we all have that glow within us, that little spark of something special. And today our first hymn is about that spark and letting it shine out in this world. It's number 118, This Little Light of Mine. So I had never heard the story of La Befana until Maria and Jamila introduced it to me, but I love it for several reasons. The first is that it's great when there's a story that focuses on the characters at the edge or at the fringes of a more central narrative. In Jamila's telling of La Befana, in our youth group's telling, we get hints at the important story happening around her, the story that would be the center of a religious tradition that would last for millennia. The star that keeps La Befana up at night is the very same star that we sing about every year at Christmas. The very same star that myth says hung over a baby who would grow to be the center of a religion. In the story of La Befana, we hear of the royal procession passing her house, exactly the journey of wise men we sing about every year, we three kings. But this story is not about Jesus or the kings. It's about an ordinary, cranky old woman who's just trying to live her life and make it through her days, like most of us. Sometimes it is the people at the edges of a story who have the most to teach us about our lives and our own stories. The second reason I love La Befana is that the end of the story is so universalist. La Befana never finds that one special baby the boy told her of, the one who would grow to be a great prophet, a compassionate healer, a radical teacher. Instead, she found many other children, each of them with holiness and potential. She sees the spark of good or God in each child she comes upon that night. And she recognizes the sweetness and dignity that each child deserves by virtue of nothing more than being born. This message is the same one at the center of our religious tradition, that each person is dignified and worthy, each containing sparks of good and potential within them that it is our job to nurture and nourish in ourselves and each other. But notice there's another message about the spark of good within than just the one about the children. The story doesn't just show the beauty and holiness in the sleeping children that La Befana encounters, but also the potential of even the crankiest, most cynical soul to find hope and to spark with its own light, even while still being a little cranky. Hope is not lost. Really, for me, the central part of the story is not the beauty of the children that La Befana encounters on her late-night trips delivering treats, but rather the transformation of La Befana herself. In the early 1800s, our Unitarian forebears broke away from their Calvinist roots with a radical claim that rather than being innately depraved or bad, as the Calvinists believed, humans were good, according to the Unitarians, and could, with practice and intention, grow in what William Ellery Channing called moral perfection or likeness to God. In other words, our Unitarian ancestors believed that there is always potential for human growth and transformation, no matter how contrary the evidence, no matter how cranky or cynical the person at hand. Indeed, no matter what we've done, our faith tells us we can still grow and change. This is the reminder that I need at least every year as we begin a new year, though probably every day would be better. In this way, the story of La Befana rings true not just to our Universalist roots, but to our Unitarian ones too. The story of a woman who acknowledges the worth and dignity of every single life around her, and who by doing so is herself transformed toward more love and more hope. The thing is, all of us were once the tiny sleeping child glowing with worth and dignity. And most of us also know what it feels like to be La Befana, tired and grumpy, and maybe nursing a bad attitude. Probably many of us have felt our inborn potential and goodness stifled by the way life just piles up on us, whether by the weight of our own regrets and mistakes, the burdens of grudges or pain in our relationships with others, or the punishing injustices of our world. We have all experienced in the course of a year the way that the burdens of life can cover over our easiest, most natural selves, can sometimes even cause us to forget our own dignity and worth, which may have been what happened with La Befana. This is why we pause at the threshold of a new year and why we gather in UU community. Because in the power of transition time and in the power of our tradition, we can be reminded that with hard work and intention, our growth and transformation is always still possible. No matter how covered up our light may feel at times, by the fight we had with a big brother, or the self-doubt in our work or dreams, or by all the ways we messed up in the year we now leave, no matter what, that spark of good and potential for love, it still burns in each of us. If we will only do the hard work of clearing away and releasing that which hides its glow. And that is exactly what we do each year here on the first Sunday of the year as we hold a burning of the grudges or burning bowls ritual to free or release our minds, bodies, and spirits from its burdens as we encounter the beginning of a new year. First, we truly understand all that has piled up on us in a year. And then later, by ritually burning away, we will release that which needs releasing. First, we will do that first piece of seeking to truly understand what has piled up on us and what might be covering over our spark. So I now invite you into a time of contemplation or meditation as we consider everything that can pile on us in a year, mistakes, regrets, grudges, all the things that dampen our spirits and limit our capacity for love. In a moment, we will have time to burn away these things, but it is good first to feel them and to know the weight of them upon our hearts. Kids especially, and anyone else who would like, you can come forward and make this into a moving meditation as we act out with our bodies some of the things we might feel during the changing of the year. Those who do not wish to come forward and join in a moving meditation may simply close their eyes, find a comfortable way to sit in their seats, and imagine together that you are journeying through a year just past, walking down the path of 2015. Those who wish to move can come on forward. Think back on the last year and of some of the things that have piled up on you as you walk down the path of the year. If you're in your seats, you may simply imagine. If you're up front, you might just walk in place. First, you might feel your feet begin to get a little heavy. Maybe they are weighed down by a big mistake that you made that made it hard to keep moving. Feel how hard it is to pick up your feet with that big mistake sitting on them. And wonder, perhaps, have you already learned what there is to learn from that mistake? Next, think about the top of your head. And there is a regret, something you wish you hadn't done or had but didn't. And it weighs down your head until your head begins to droop down under its burden. As you continue moving, you encounter a fear or a doubt about your own dignity and worth, and your legs start to feel like jello. Maybe you are wrestling with a big failure or many little ones. Maybe you are carrying a disappointment about yourself, the world, or someone else. Feel how hard it is to walk with fears and doubts pulling at your legs. Now, with your heavy feet and your drooping head and your jello-y legs, last, you encounter a grudge you may be bearing from the year now gone, and you feel it holding in your arms and bringing your shoulders down. Are you still holding hard feelings or defense mechanisms that have passed their usefulness? Are you still mad at someone in a way that hurts your own heart? Feel those grudges pull your arms down to the ground as you try to walk. Practice or imagine moving this way with the burdens of 2015 weighing on your feet, legs, heads, and shoulders. These burdens are real. Some of them are small and some of them are very big. They will not all be easy to release. But as you return to your seat, which you may now do, imagine what it would be like to just let go of them. To let go of the mistakes on your feet that no longer hold learning for you. Shake off the regrets that feed the wrong part of you. Imagine the possibility of kicking away the fears and doubts that crowd away your sense of hope and shrugging off the grudges that are only placing limits around your heart. It's hard work, but together on this day, we begin to release those burdens. In just a moment, we will take our offering, and before we do, we will pass around flash paper and small pencils. On them during the offering, I invite you to write down what it is that is weighing on you that needs release in order for you to move with light heart into the year ahead. After that, later on, we will burn those papers away and hopefully feel a lightness in our bodies, minds, and spirits that prepare us for this year we have now entered. So please do write those or draw them during the offering, which Jamila will now introduce. Now, as you continue to receive your flash paper or to write down all that needs releasing, I remind you to consider what are the things that it is time to leave behind as you cross this threshold into a new year. Consider what needs releasing. Opportunities missed, losses, failures, unwelcome burdens, things you said or did you wish you hadn't, things you didn't say or do you wish you had. Think about that meditation. What has piled up on your heart, body, soul, covered over the light that shines in you? What are the things that keep you from living fully and loving extravagantly? If you haven't already, write or draw those things you are ready to burn away, to leave behind you as a new year of living and loving stretches out before you. In just a moment, I will invite those of you who wish to come forward or send your paper forward with a neighbor, and together we will burn away all that we wish to release. Those who wish to remain seated may simply continue in a time of contemplation, to imagine releasing your heart of its burdens for the brand new year. I'll ask you to come down either of the two side aisles and hand your paper to the person with the bowl at the head of the aisle in just a moment. Please wait. Even if you would not like to come forward yourself, if you took a paper, please send it forward. These are a bit of a fire hazard if just left lying around, these papers, so bring them forward. We will receive them, and then we will do the burning of them for you for safety. Kids are welcome to watch, but please make sure you're standing behind at the front row or behind and not coming past that, so that we're all just keeping a safe atmosphere as together we burn away these grudges and regrets. So now as we burn these things, may you feel a lightness of spirit to carry you into the new year. May all that renders us stingy with our hearts burn away until all that remains is the bright light of the human spirit, burning strong and fierce as we invite good beginnings to cast the light of hope upon the year ahead. In a moment, as you watch your paper burn away with all the others, feel the burdens we imagined in our meditation begin to lift off of you. Feel the lightness in your heart. I invite you now to bring forward those things that need burning away in the year to come. Now safely and symbolically free of our burdens, let us move into another year with hope, and more importantly, with a fierce and burning love in our hearts, for life itself, for ourselves and each other, and for this world we share. Kids, don't forget to check under the tree to see if La Befana visited our church before you leave, but first, may you go into a new year with a lightness of heart and spirit, into a time of further growth and transformation. Go in blessing and be a blessing to a world that needs your care. Let us sing our benediction.